What is up, my Lorcana Goons, and welcome back to the Lorcana Goons channel. Y'all are watching the Monday weekly Meta Watch video. Every Monday, Zach Stone and I go over your deck lists that have been performing throughout the weekend, and we're going to go over some set champs winners, some big tournament winners, but I really want to place an emphasis this week on the spice, on some decks that we haven't really seen pop off lately. And we're going to start off today, Zach, with this first place Ruby Emerald deck by Cody Gilbert. Huge shout out to Cody for taking down this Sharp Gaming 5K tournament with Christmas in July. Love to see it, man. Someone call Mariah Carey. It is almost time for the holiday season when you're playing red and green. And this strategy looks really crazy, dude. I was thinking about how do you what's the game plan? How do you win? But I mean, we obviously got the discard package here, and then you got Maui Shark to kind of combo off with that discard package. So you're probably gaining small increments of lore with your Diablos in the early game. Maybe resolving a chip, quest with a Prince John every now and then. In the later game, that Maui Shark can probably get you any action you need back, like a Bruno, Pirate's Life, one copy of Dragonfire in case you need it. Zach Stone, how are we feeling about the red-green deck today?
Kevin, this deck is super cool. I am very much a fan of red-green. You know how I've tried to make this time. It got somebody there. And it's good to see that it's emphasizing on a discard package, because I genuinely think that's the strongest Emerald strategy that they have is the discard and draw with Prince John. So we definitely think that rotation will completely change things, whether they get rid of Prince John or they get rid of a lot of cards that discard cards, and we're just down to just a very few amount of cards that are actually interacting with the hand like that. I know it's not a popular strategy amongst the community, but it's still something that exists, and overall does have some checks and balances. I do think static ward characters do need to go, so I'm a little bit more excited if we do not have Prince John and uses, because that means it's going to change the dynamic of what Emerald decks are supposed to do. But overall, this list is very clean, and we're looking at a lot of copies of removal cards, and we're seeing the Maui Shark to be able to recur those. So it's nice. I like it. Kevin, do you think you're going to play this at any set champs if you get some time?
If I had time to play set champs, this would be the deck I would play. Something of this spice level I would love to play. I feel like that's where I'm at with Lorcana competitively right now. Once the set champs start getting towards the end of the time frame, I kind of start thinking, now I just want to play the spice before the new set comes out, right? Cards that I haven't really been seen used before, that is really why I want to try this deck out. Like Undermine is a 2-cost action that is exclusive to the red-green color combo. It says chosen opponent's character. Wait. Oh, it says choose a... okay. It says chosen opponent chooses and discards a card. Then chosen character gets +2 strength this turn. So you can kind of combo this off with a pretty cool line to generate some tempo in your advantage. Maybe you get a pretty good swing. I like how Emerald has this ability to give your characters a plus strength. We've seen this with Cricky, we've seen this with Megara, and now we see it with Undermine. But you also have this ability to discard a card at the same time. So if you set up a cool situation with an Ursula or a Queen, these characters have some pretty high willpower compared to their 1 strength. You can follow it up with a Prince John and then Undermine after, give one of those characters some extra strength, and now you have a 3 strength character that can swing. But really, you probably just want a bunch of actions, because if you end up resolving 3 or more actions in the same turn, you can play this Lilo, causing an uproar, for free. And this is going to be pretty cool because it'll let you quest with your Prince John, re-ready the Prince John. Maybe you want to quest with something like Cricky. Quicky's in a quest for 3, right? So being able to re-ready that with Lilo after playing a triple action sequence of Brawl, Hypnotize, Sudden Chill, very possible in the discard strategy. Next up, from the Saturday afternoon Reign of Jafar set championships hosted by Elemental Gaming, we have a first place Puppy V3 deck profile by Ryan Kennedy. First place, Amber Sapphire Puppies. I didn't expect this. However, I feel like set champs is the time to kind of, showcase your spice level, showcase what you can do as a deck builder, as a player, as an Illuminator, because, hey, man, if you have an idea and you stick to that strat and, it works out in your favor, you can take down a tournament with a lot of these non-meta style deck combinations. And I feel like some people kind of gravitate towards, the top tier deck lists, the deck lists you see at the championship circuits, right? But every now and then, you do have those players like Ryan over here who's just cooking behind the scenes. We have an Amber Sapphire aggro deck here. We have been seeing this list kind of take off since the World Tournament, because we did see a lot of players use this color combination as one of their 3. But to take it to a tournament where you're running up against Ruby Sapphire, Green Purple, Pull the Lever, all these decks that currently have tons of removal, I feel like it could be kind of risky. risky, but you are playing Ludwig von Drake. This is a 2-cost character that is going to be able to snipe a non-character card out of the opponent's hand. Very effective, and it also is going to let you ramp. So you don't play any other ramp cards in this deck. No Sail, no Tipo, probably no need for any of those. Ludwig probably the only way you're going to get an extra ramp, but you're not playing any high-cost characters anyway, so you're really only ramping into maybe something like Darling Deer, Shift, Thunderbolt, Sven, so you can keep constantly questing with your characters, keep them protected. Maybe you have Zipper on board. You can give resist to many of your high willpower characters like Alice, Savvy Saver, or your Rapunzel.
Hey, I was just talking about ward characters in the previous deck, and now this one has 5 different ward characters, and that is hard to deal with, especially with the meta being shaped up into more of like an Emerald Amethyst or an Amber Steel. This is Amber Sapphire that can really catch a lot of the meta off guard, and I'm not surprised it took first place at a set champs. Not at all. There's a lot of high lore questing power in this deck, and you have a lot of ways to give additional lore to characters, and re-readying characters with Sven is still one of my favorite things to do. I think it's just a really good mechanic to just be able to like have free lore for the next turn, and being able to quest again with characters like Piglet or even like Donald Duck, and just have something there, Daisy Duck, and just have something that just allows you to get extra lore, and all that pressure is going to close out those games.
Yeah, I do want to add that Lady Family Dog plays like a very special role in aggro decks like this, mainly because you can play out certain characters that you might not want it to play out like on turns before. Let's say something like Patch or Ludwig. You know, if you want to wait for your opponent to draw into more targets for your Ludwig, you can play this lady out on turn 3, still trigger the Ludwig because it's going to happen on play. That Patch as well, if you're setting up a shift line, maybe you don't want to play that Patch on turn 1, you rather play Daisy instead. On turn 3, you can play Lady plus Patch, follow that up with a shift Thunderbolt. Very strong combination of cards, like Zach Stone said, when you have a bunch of warded characters that are almost going to guarantee their lore. Next up, we're going to go over this Sapphire Steel deck, a Sapphire Steel ally deck, actually making it to top 4 of their set champs. Huge shout out to rapper Lucci Bands for making it all the way and only losing to Hamza Khan, a world's competitor, in the finals with this Sapphire Steel ally deck. Now, there's not too many allies, but we are using the Jasmine Steady Strategist right here to be able to search our allies. It's a shift 2 character, Floodborn. You can play this on turn 2, shifting on your 1-cost Jasmine, meaning you can start singing your 4-cost songs immediately, or you can quest, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you find an ally character, you can add it immediately to your hand. And we have some pretty cool allies here. We got Pluto the Guard Dog, we have Lawrence, you also got Smee, which is probably one of the best allies in the deck, next to Doc the Bold Knight, which is going to be one of the best draw engines for this deck.
Yes, we do see that they're including the cycle package of like Mulans and Simbas, but you can't forget that Stitch does allow you to draw a card and gain a lore when it banishes a character in a challenge. I do like that we're also playing a little bit more of like the sturdy bodies. I do like the Jafar, the Aspiring Ruler. He's just a 2-lore body, but on play, he does give a character challenger 2 that turn, and he can just quest out pretty well. And this is what this deck is trying to do. It's just trying to create a lot of pressure and find more characters with that Jasmine ability. But overall, this is still like a Kiwi Birds deck almost. This is just more like focused on the ally package, and I do like Popsicles and Bells because it's still one of the best turn 1 plays. And yeah, overall there's just a lot of good cards in this deck.
Yeah, we got 58 good cards and 2 of the best cards in the game right now. 2 copies of Dump Truck, the 1-cost uninkable 0 strength 1 willpower character that says when you play this character you may deal 1 damage to chosen character. Now, I point this out real quick, Zach, because we're seeing Dump Truck kind of take off in popularity right now in the Steel package, and that Ruby Emerald deck we just saw, they were playing I believe the Dormouse is what it's called, and it has a similar ability. On play, you put a damage counter on a character, and I feel like these abilities, these little one-shot abilities, are kind of slept on in Lorcana. Maybe we should be utilizing them a little bit more. But once again, huge shout out Lucci Bands, making it all the way to top 4 of your set champs with Sapphire Steel ally. I like this deck a lot. Huge shout out to Lucci Bands and MJP and everybody who's been submitting deck lists in our Discord. We appreciate it. It makes these videos so much more fun. MJP, we've been seeing you just gonna go back to back in tournaments, bro. You're doing really well in this Reign of Jafar season with Blurple, mind you. I like this list a lot. We're playing 3 copies of the 6-cost Ana. It's a character that has 3 strength, 6 willpower, can quest for 2, shift 4, but you don't really have many Ana targets that are worth shifting on anyways, so you're better off just playing it as a 6-cost character you can ramp into. She does have support as well, and I think that goes very well with your lingering T-pose that you have on the board most of the time, and has another ability if you have an Elsa. It says whenever this character quests, if you have a character named Elsa in play, you may draw a card, so you have some more draw power in the Blurple package. I really like characters that get an effect when they quest. The Jasmine Steady Strategist did this, and I feel like that card is really good for that reason. You're kind of getting a 2-for-1 ability. You're gaining the lore, and you're getting the ability. Ana has that similar ability too. And I think to have an Elsa on board in this deck is not too much to ask for. You are playing for Elsa of the 5th Spirit as your only target, but that's probably one of the best Elsa characters in the game, and that 5 willpower means it's going to stick on the board.
I do want to talk about this really quick, that they are playing 3 copies of Into the Unknown too. MJP, I know that this card has been something that you've tinkered around with in different, ratios. So if you are listening, drop down in the comments below why you chose to go with 3 in this route. Overall, I think that the Kita is an excellent addition to this deck. It does have Ward, and when you exert it, you look at the top 2 cards of your deck and you add one to your Inkwell while keeping the other one on top of the deck. And that kind of manipulate your draws a little bit better, allows you to set up some really clean plays, and it also gets you that additional ramp, which I think is very good. And you can't forget about the Monstro being able to deal with those wide exerted boards and just cleaning up the house. And here we got another Blurple deck list, this time taking first place in their set champs. We got JG Sally, a member of Team Misplay, and we've met them at the DLCs. And shout outs to you guys. I know you guys have been helping out all the DLCs at the staffing, and overall, just a very, very friendly team. But yeah, this is a very interesting, different deck list. We have the Jafar package, as well as the Tamatoa. They call him the Teenage Tamatoa, I think. But we have a very solid draw package with the rabbits, the friends on the other side. We are still playing genies as well, and 1 copy of that big Elsa, which has got to pair well on curve, in my opinion. You are playing some Madam Mim bounce packages, and we're not including Snake. I just think on 2, you are really just trying to find your sales and T-pose. It's the only thing you want to do on turn 2. But we have items, of course, that go with the Tamatoa. We got the lamp, which works really well with the Genie Jafar, and the Croquet Mallet, which gives a character rush and can help get your Jafar exerted.
I know for a while, Zach, you were tinkering around with Blurple. I remember you toying with the Croquet Mallet concept, and it was a cool deck, but I always felt like it was missing something. I felt like it was missing a little bit more oomph, when I tried it. And then maybe the Jafar package might be it. You're showing me this deck that has rabbits, genies, and friends on the other side. Those are some of my favorite draw cards. No Finders Keepers, because I think the lamp can kind of, replace that extra draw engine, because you're able to draw 2 cards, and if you have Jafar and Genie on the board, you can also bounce a character. So that's 1 form of removal. You got 2 Let It Goes, 3 Hades, 3 Into the Unknown, the Bell Accomplished Mystic, a lot of removal in a color combo that's not really necessarily known for removal. So if you can resolve this Jafar, Strike, and Illusionist, you're going to be able to start gaining lore and protect them as well. I think that's kind of important. I also want to mention Jafar, Keeper of Secrets, my favorite Jafar shift target by far. I feel like this is the best Jafar target. He has 5 willpower. First of all, he quests for 2, and then he gains +1 for every card in your hand. That just sounds like a card that's going to stick around all day in a Blurple deck, right? Because you're always going to have cards in hand. So this is never going to get hit by Brawl, Sisu, I think. And I think it's probably one of the best Jafar targets. Next up, we have a very special list to go over. A huge shout out Christina Yakumin, aka CX Gaming Online, for getting first place at their set championships with the green purple Diablo deck, but they did this while pregnant. They have their post on Twitter, 8.5 months pregnant to be exact. This is their favorite deck, and I just gotta call Judge on this real quick. Like, I think she had an unfair advantage playing a 2v1 all day. You know what I mean? Awesome deck list though. Got to give credit where credit is due. It's an Amethyst Emerald Burn style deck, and we're seeing 1 copy of the new legendary Bambi in this deck. This card is a 3-cost uninkable 1/1 stat line that can quest for 3 though. Has an ability that says when you play this character, you gain 1 lore, very similar to Merlin Goat or White Rose. Has another ability though, when your opponent plays a character, this card bounces immediately back to your hand. So it's kind of like a good and a bad thing, right? Because every time your opponent plays something, your Bambi's safe. Your Bambi's gonna go back to your hand. You have a guaranteed lore next turn. However, requesting for 3 doesn't seem very likely, because Lorcana is a game where characters, are pretty important. So most decks are gonna play characters every turn.
Yeah, this is just a very aggressive style of a deck, and it just plays the Emerald strategy because it's just the most disruptive one. And it's only playing like Merfolks, Diablos, Go-Go's, and Ursulas. It's just meant to be disruptive, all while using the sheer aggressive draw power that Amethyst has and the lore gain ability. Like, look at this: 4 White Roses, 4 Goats, 3 Gathering Knowledges. This is my family. Boss is on a roll. We're here to end the game very quickly, and I can see why you need to get the job done because being pregnant, there's nothing you need to do more than just get home and relax. So I'm glad you closed it out. I'm glad you did it with a very fast deck, and that way you get some rest every now and then.
I love that. You're so right, Zach Stone. Huge shout out, Christina CX, for doing so well at your set championships. She had to take down her entire team, Team The Poison. Huge shout out, Wonderful, by the way, who's also very active in our Discord for submitting the deck list. You guys are awesome. Congratulations, on the championship and the baby. I can't wait. Are you going to name the kid Diablo?
That'd be insane.
Or Bambi.
Maybe Go-Go.
Go-Go.
Maybe Go-Go could be their baby name.
Yeah.
So,
that'd be cute.
That'd be cool.
Honey Marin's a good one too.
Honey Marin. But yeah, again, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for being a part of the Goon Squad community. And remember, guys, you can join our Discord with the link down below. That way you can drop your deck list when you take down your next week's set champs. And speaking of another deck list from our Discord, we have another Emerald Amethyst list by White Lotus 57. They named their deck Let the Storm Rage Gone, and I believe they think that it's not going to get graduated into the next set. However, their list is more of like the Diablo discard line with the Prince Johns and definitely a heavier discard package as we see Sudden Chills, Hypnotizes, as well as the pull the lever, wrong lever strategy. But I want to point out that they have the one copy of the Ursula, the Sea Witch Queen, and this character, again, really takes down the Amber Steel decks. I think it's one of the more important cards, but I think you don't want to get too fixated on it. I think it does get a little clunky in your hand, and you might be having to ink it. And honestly, don't be too afraid if that's the route you're going with. But overall, I'm a big fan of a deck like this. This is kind of something I've been more tinkering around with, and I am a bigger fan of Emerald Amethyst in the current meta. I just think it has a lot of answers to respond to what other decks people are playing.
I agree, especially having Ursula Deceiver in the deck. It's just having song removal from the hand is very important, I think. You can also use the Ursula Sea Witch Queen to shift on top of that, and that just cancels out the opposing Amber Steel decks. It is only a 1 of in this deck, but it does feel like it can go off pretty easily. What's cool about Emerald is that you have multiple ways to remove cards on the board with a Bruno. Now you have Wrong Lever as well. Wrong Lever being either a card that bounces to the hand or bottom decks a card back to the deck. Elsa Fitzspirit and Cricky also act as like pseudo removal situations, and in combination with Peter Pan and Iago, a lot of these cards can generate you a lot of value if your opponent starts turning their cards sideways at the wrong time. And you guys know it would not be a Meta Watch video without going over one of the most represented decks of the format. Ruby Sapphire items still dominating at set champs. This one by Fiend, a set 8 Ruby Sapphire hybrid where they're playing items, but they're also playing 2 copies of Pirate's Life. No Maui Shark, but look at this. We got 4 copies of Chicha.
No, there's Shark. There's Shark.
Oh, there is Shark. Oh, yeah, I didn't even see the Shark. You know why I didn't? Oh my gosh, you know why I didn't see the Shark? Because the lowest cost character over here is Chicha and then Grandma, and then it just jumps to like Maui Shark and Maui immediately. So there's 2 Shark, 2 Pirate's Life, and then we got 4 Chicha here as an extra way to draw cards because we're not playing Workshop. Right, we're not playing Workshop. Wow. So Chicha's probably going to be your extra draw engine alongside cards like Grandma Tala, which can, give you some extra +1s. 4 copies of Maleficent Dragon, Zach. That's kind of cool. It's looking like they're prepared for a post-rotation Ruby Sapphire deck.
Yeah, when I first saw like a hybrid style deck, because I had to play against it at like a local tournament one day, I was kind of upset because I was like, well, I have like better answers to this, but my answers to this aren't good against this. And this is what this deck is trying to do. We are still playing Big Tamatoa and Lucky Dime. This is just going to be the game-ending strategy. There's a lot of item recursion with the Merlin's Carpet Bag as well as the other Tamatoas. So you just get to play your items over and over and over again and find those cards you need to win the games. But you can just go the Shark route and win the game with all the actions you're going to be playing. And it's just a very hard strategy to counteract because I find myself having to change up my game plan like mid strategy, and then if I stick to one game plan and they end up drawing their other engine, then I'm going to lose out, and it feels really bad if I'm going to be honest with you. Not to mention that they have the most amount of sweepers, I think, available that any other color combo has. Look at this, guys. We have 3 big Sisu and 4 Be Prepared. We are not here to play games. We are getting rid of those aggressive characters, and we are making sure we can end the game with our own Tamatoa.
I would go as far as to say Ruby Sapphire is still like, in my opinion, the safest deck to take to a tournament. Like if I wanted to just like try and get first place and I had the least amount of time to practice, I think this would be one of the decks I think I would pivot to just because of what you just said, dude. The power level, the amount of cards you have that just sweep the board, they reset the game, and I think that this deck is probably going to outlast the potential rotated cards out because we're keeping a lot of ramp. Fishbone Quill might not stick around, but Tipo gonna stay. Sail the Azurite stays. There's no Tipo in this list, but still, like we have a lot of the tools that are gonna stick around. I do wonder what's gonna happen to Popsicle. If we get it back, if we don't, that might make a pretty big difference. But if you are curious on how this deck is piloted, we're gonna leave links to all the deck lists in the description below, and Fiend has a very detailed description of his tournament run on his Dreamborn link. So huge shout out to you for providing this info in our Discord.
All right, and another red blue deck, this time by the Barber himself, Joshua Lalonde, member of Team ANG. Shout outs to you guys. This is a first place deck list. He took down his set champs, and boy, oh boy, is this a good sight to see. It's an item list, and it has Maurice's workshop, Kevin. Don't worry about that one. But we are playing the little Sisu in this one. Some additional removal, which I do like because Sapphire Coil is still one of the strongest cards, but it's got Vitalosphere and it's still got big Sisus and B preps. So we still have that removal that we like to see, as well as the Lucky Dime and the big Tamatoa to close out those games. It's just awesome to see Red Blue still in the meta, but as an Amber Steel enthusiast, I just don't necessarily like this deck to exist. So post rotation, I am a little excited to see what changes and how the deck's going to shape up. This deck will still check other decks in the meta, which is important. Checks and balances are important for like a healthy meta game, and it does exist for that very reason. But again, congrats to you. I know you've been trying really hard to take down your set champs.
I'm glad you said that, Zach, because Amber Steel, in my opinion, is like one of the most overpowered decks, mainly because of Whole New World. And I'm not one to necessarily complain about a matchup or a card game, but that for sure is the most tilting card in Lorcana for me, at least. And what I've always liked about Ruby Sapphire is that it's always positioned itself in the metagame as like this deck that is extremely strong, but my favorite part about it has always been that like it's a deck that usually has a very clean or easy time against Amber Steel, and because of that it kind of has deterred some people from playing Amber Steel in certain metas and formats. And me, as someone who does not like that matchup period because of Whole New World, I like that Ruby Sapphire exists. So I am curious to see what's going to happen soon. Obviously we're not going to have Whole New World, they confirmed that already, so I don't got to worry about that, but still I am curious to see with Ruby Sapphire, like this type of Ruby Sapphire potentially gone, like this heavy control version, item style control version, right? What does happen to some of these like Amber Steel decks? These decks that get to go really, really wide, really fast. So Chernadog, Amber Emerald, that's one of my favorite decks, and the hardest matchup is arguably Ruby Sapphire because of this big Sisu. This big Sisu Sapphire Coil. Every single card in my Emerald Amber package is going to fall under that 2 strength line. And if I have anything that's at 3 or 4, rarely, it's still going to lose out to 1 Sapphire Coil. So checks and balances, very important in the game. I am curious to see what they're going to do in the future to see where, these decks kind of end up on the tier scale based off of what survives. And the last deck we're going to go over, we got to cover a Ruby Amethyst deck, Zach, my favorite color combination. Huge shout out Illuminatier Zohana for getting a top 8 Ranger Far placement with this Ruby Amethyst. A Ruby Amethyst deck that's playing some cool cards, a 65 card deck list, which you pointed out to me, and we have 2 copies of Medallion Weights, 2 copies of Imperial Proclamation, and 2 copies of Hypnotic Strength. All these cards are going to have challenge style abilities. Hypnotic Strength is going to be able to give a boost to your characters while simultaneously letting you draw a card. This card's pretty nice because you can use it to out opposing rhinos in combination with your Ursula Mad Sea Witch Queen. That's the 2-cost character we have up there that'll gain Challenger +2. Then you got Medallion Weights. This card's pretty cool. It acts as a draw engine, and it's pretty much Hypnotic Strength as an item, right? You play it on with 2 ink. You can spend 2 extra ink to give a character +2 strength and the ability that whenever it challenges another character you may draw a card. Actually, pretty cool in combination with Imperial Proclamation. Now, I don't know who leaked my goo, Zach. I don't know who leaked my spice, but if you guys have been, watching Lorcana Goons channel, you know that I've been playing Imperial Proclamation in my Ruby Amethyst deck because I think it's so good. I think it's so clean to be able to play this card in the early game, because you have a lot of lingering ink in this deck. Sometimes by like turn 3, turn 4, you're going to be playing like 3, 4, 5 cost cards, and you always have like one ink just kind of left over. You play the Imperial Proclamation, and now your opponent can just not turn cards sideways. Amber Steel, they can't really go as aggressive as they normally can because every time, they do, you get to trigger that proclamation, letting you play out cards early that are as strong as Monstro, Hades, Maui Shark. You know how good it is to play a Maui Shark just one turn earlier in Ruby Amethyst? It's actually kind of crazy.
I'm actually, more I'm thinking about it, you can be like the red blue players and you can go Proclamation on 1, Ursula on 2, Peter Pan on 3, and even if you have to trade both characters in rid of something, you can drop that Maui Shark right after on turn 4.
Yeah, no,
And that's
yeah.
oppressive, like just straight up. That's oppressive. Like there's nothing anybody can do against that. And I really think that Imperial Proclamation was really good. And I didn't share it. I'm not the leak. I'm not the source, Kevin. You
Okay.
can't come after me. But I gotta let you know that there's other cards in here that I know you haven't tried out to the fullest extent. There's some meta mim elephants, and that's an interesting card, but also the medallion weights, and that's another card too that I've seen tinkered around in some other deck lists. So it's good to see that this deck's still being innovative, and that's what it's really been about. It's always innovating a strategy to beat this meta.
I do want to comment on Hades' Ruthless Tyrant going on in the future of Lorcana. I think this might be like your draw engine for Ruby Amethyst, depending on, what gets cycled in and out. We know Genie survives post-rotation, but we don't know about Friends on the Other Side, Rabbit, Finders Keepers, right? But this Hades' Ruthless Tyrant, against a lot of steel decks, it kind of just pivots the game in your favor most of the time. This deck feels a little bit more like a late game deck rather than like an early mid-range deck, especially with that Hades and that Monstro. So if you guys do try this deck list out, I do feel like patience is going to reward you at the end of the day because you are playing cards like the Pirate's Life, the Shark, and you're going to be able to swing games back in your favor most of the time. All right, Zach, we're going to be using Cody's first place Christmas deck. We're going to invoke the spirit of Mariah Carey in the middle of July and try and beat the ink table AI with this green-red discard strategy. We opened up a Hidden Cove, a double Diablo, shift, and our one-cost Diablo, a double Maui Shark, a Maui Hero to All, and a Prince John, greediest of all. Very cool hand. Obviously, I want to keep the shift Diablo package in my hand, but we don't have any action, so I'm gonna just take a guess here and say let's put everything back and only keep these two so we can just not risk not drawing an action.
I actually think we keep Cove. I think it's kind of just like the golden rule when you have the Exodia hand, you keep the Exodia.
Okay.
So here's the reason why. We're gonna put back 4 and draw 4. Still a decent chance to find an action. Then we still have a turn after that to draw a card and find another action after we draw. So I'm down to run the chances. To be honest, I think it's too good to not do.
I think we might be going first though, so I don't know if we have an extra chance to draw a card. Just saying. I believe we're going first, but
no, the turn after.
Yes.
I know that.
Yes, you're right. Sorry, I'm silly. You're right. You have to wait a whole turn to shift that Diablo. You're so right. So we'll take the risk. We have plenty of actions in the deck, and there we go. We kept the Cove, and now we got 2 actions in our hand. We can actually even go as far as to keep the Sudden Chill maybe, so that if we do see a Prince John, we can do some wombo combos. But I want to say we start off by inking the Cricky, no, we can't ink Bruno because we need to discard it. Yeah, so ink the Cricky, play Diablo. What do you think?
I think that's the play. I think you do that. It's not necessarily worth keeping Cricky this early. I know we play like 2, so we can find the second one again.
There you go. We look at their hand, Zach Stone, and we are playing against Amber Steel. An Amber Steel deck list, one of the best decks of the format. I'm a little intimidated because, they have some scary cards in hand. It's me, Hamster, Strength, Storm, Zeus, and Namari with a Rapunzel. We got to pass there, but they're probably going to not do anything on their first turn, so we're going to be safe for a little bit, right?
Yeah, so they inked and they passed. And when we draw for turn, we know that their hand doesn't necessarily have like a turn 2 play that's going to be brawlable. So I'd actually be looking to discard this brawl. And I think we're gonna ink the Bruno. We're gonna keep the Sudden Chill. Just because I like the idea of keeping that for the Prince John because we need some draw power.
Yeah, I like
card.
that too.
So don't forget to play your hidden cove and move the Diablo there because they did show us let the Storm Rage on
Yep.
and a Strength and a Zeus.
Yep.
So we're just going to make it a little bit more difficult for them to get rid of this Diablo. Hopefully it gets us a few more cards and we can get the card draw we need. So
Mhm.
Diablo triggers and we find a Maui. That's
Okay.
good.
Okay. Maui is pretty good. I like Maui against steel decks. I feel like if you do see a Maui against a steel deck, you probably don't want to ink it anytime soon. So Zach, like you mentioned, they do have Strength, Zeus in their hand alongside a what did they ink? They ended up inking the Rhino Power Hamster, so we know that's out of their hand now. I want to say we're gonna have to. What do we do? What do we do? Do you play Diablo, move it? Obviously, we're questing, right? What is, in my opinion, kind of rough. Maybe you just ink Diablo.
So I'm thinking here, because we started first, the opponent got to draw an extra card for their first turn, and I do not think it's going to be a feasible route. However, if it was the other way around, I would have like probably sudden chill the situation, knowing they have less cards to work with. And we do know like some of the cards available in their arsenal. It's a debate whether you ink this Diablo because we have to remember that we can play this Diablo down and threaten the Mister Smee that could hit the cove, right? So it could be worth it to probably get rid of the chip because the chip's just going to be a liability with like the removal that they have. Like I don't necessarily like keeping chip because it doesn't work with the Prince John if we do find it. Like the sudden chill works a lot better.
Yeah,
So we can
yeah,
ink the chip, play the Diablo, but we can also play Diablo first to even see the rest of the cards that they drew, and
yeah, and
then
that.
decide there.
You know what? I now that you mentioned Diablo being able to contest his Smee with our Cove, I think you kind of have to play Diablo. In their hand, we see some new cards. Another Smee, a Lawrence there, and now they have Storm Rage on too. 3 songs, 3 characters. Their hand is looking pretty good, but I think we can still do something to keep ourselves alive, right? We have this Diablo here. It doesn't look like it's gonna go away anytime soon necessarily. He can't clear it next turn. His best play next turn is going to be either play Lawrence, so he can set up a strength next turn, and then we go from there. So yeah, inking the chip seems fine, right?
Yeah, you ink the chip. Don't forget to move the 1-drop Diablo into the cove.
Hmm.
Get that ink spent now, and don't forget to quest either with the
Definitely quest.
other Diablo because you're gonna get the extra card here. You're gonna get another card on the following
Okay.
turn, and they didn't even put 3 damage into the cove this time. They
They did
decided to
not.
ink, and they're gonna play another Smee and a Cinderella. So that one's a little bit of a threat, but again, we did move that.
Ooh.
We did move that Diablo, but now we
Yeah.
found another Diablo.
Yeah,
This is
interesting.
interesting.
It,
Okay.
it, it's kind of rough though, right? Because like we know for sure they have Strength, Zeus, and Storm coming in their hand, and Cindy's gonna let them, let them get some free value out of that. So if we do shift this Diablo, like, is it really gonna get? Is it gonna survive?
I don't like actually shifting this Diablo here.
Mhm.
So this is actually what I would like to do. I would ink the sudden chill, and I would probably deploy the Diablo and move it into the cove,
Yeah,
without shift.
yeah.
And then we're gonna get rid of that Smee with our 1-cost Diablo, like we mentioned previously, and we will just quest. Just doing this is going to allow us to still get
Hmm.
some more cards while being a little bit in a disruptive route. We do have to realize that he does have an ability to just get rid of one of these Diablos, but he's gonna have to turn something sideways, and we could punish him with the Maui. So let's draw another card here, and just hope we find some good
Pirate's
stuff.
Life. Yep.
They're not doing damage to this cove, which is interesting.
Yeah,
And
I mean it's the AI, right? The AI is underestimating our ability to. Oh, and that was a
oh
very strange play. They did not use the strength in their
ah
hand. They decided to use a storm instead in their hand. So that means we just got a free card off of Diablo.
yeah, this is interesting.
Yeah, I mean they should. Let's be real. They should have used the strength in their hand. That should have been, unless they inked it, unless they had to ink it away for whatever reason. Oh, they did. Oh no, they didn't. Never mind. No, yeah, they could have. They definitely still have strength in their hand.
Strength Zeus.
Yeah, they have
Yeah,
strength.
I
I
don't
think
I
it's
don't
strength
get
Zeus
it.
Rapunzel. I think it's strength Zeus Rapunzel. Like there's realistically, like, we should be missing a Diablo here, and we just probably have like one less card. But like this turn, our play would be very I think in our favor, right, Zach? Because let's say this Diablo wasn't here, we would probably just ink the Pirate's Life, play the Maui. Maui gets a very clean challenge into this me. Our Diablo can clear the Cinderella, and then on his turn, we know that he can only either hardcast Zeus to clear our second Diablo, and if they want to play strength, they won't really do enough. Or no, yeah, because we're at the cove, so they would have to play like of the 4 cost Rapunzel, and they don't even have enough ink to play another 1 cost. Yeah, so I think even if even if they
No,
did it right,
this is going to be good. So yeah, we're
yeah,
going to play Maui, inking the one cost Diablo. We're going to get rid of the Smee, and
yeah,
then using the undamaged Diablo to get rid of the Cinderella, and just quest out with the other one.
yeah. I guess the
It's
point I was
pretty
making
much
is
a
that
wrap here.
I guess the point I was making is that like even if the AI didn't mess up, I still think we're in a winning position. You know what I mean? Like even with just the one Diablo, one Maui here, like yeah, like you said, it feels like a wrap. Like what are you gonna do, brother?
Yeah, so like all that would have done is it would have just allowed us not to draw like 2 cards. We would have just drawn one,
Yeah.
have one less Diablo.
They're gonna Zeus the hidden cove.
I'm
That is insane. And now they're gonna clear the cove.
I'm
Well, I guess it makes sense,
It
right?
gets
Because I
rid
have
of the
damage on here.
Diablo.
Yeah, it gets rid of the
It gets rid
Diablo.
of the Diablo. Yeah,
I mean,
I
they could have been done
understand.
turns ago. Yeah, that could have been done turns ago. And now we just have all the removal we want in our hand. You know what I mean? We can do
So
some interesting plays
we
here.
can do some spicy. We can do some spicy stuff here, right? We can play hypnotize first and draw a card and see what we get.
Ooh, I see where you're going with this, Zach. I like it. I see where you're going. Hypnotize. We'll draw another Maui. Okay.
Okay. We didn't find another action to be able to play right here, which is not the worst, but I
Unfortunately
think what
not.
we can do.
You know
Yeah,
what?
I think what we can do to solve what do we know, Kevin?
There's a world where you sing the Bruno and you brawl your own Diablo so you can play Lilo. But there's no point in doing that, right? That's just silly.
That is never the line. Okay. I think it's fine. I think it's fine if we just ink something like the brawl here. I don't necessarily think we need the brawl. Then just get rid of the Lawrence where you have to challenge because it's
Yeah,
reckless
yeah,
and quest
reckless
with the
there.
Diablo. It's funny. This game could have been done a little bit differently, but we're still pressuring our Amber Steel opponent with Diablo,
Yeah.
and it's good to see. I think it's I don't know if it's Rapunzel that they've kept, but no, it looks like it was a Smee, and then they pass,
Um,
and now
I want to
now
slap this Ursula
you
down.
get to do whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean we're
Sure.
gonna win anyways. I feel. Oh, there's the Rapunzel. Okay, so the Rapunzel's still there. So I'm realistically like we're not. We have. It's funny because we also have not been necessarily playing into the Rapunzel, which is just good for us. And I think
You can
that's
play the Queen of
yeah, I
Hearts.
think that's pretty much like it. Like, right, we're just keeping our removal for like the actual problematic cards. We're gonna draw every turn. Once you like stabilize and kind of slow the game down in your favor, like you're gonna be chilling. You're gonna have way more card advantage than your opponent. You have a lot of spot removal, so and any threat that comes down, we can immediately just deal with. Like, check this out. Like, I mean, this isn't necessarily the play we have to do, but we
Oh,
can just
this is
Dragonfire the
this
Cindy for
is
no reason if we need to. Oh yeah, we could even do this. Right, we could deal 1 damage with our Dormouse, and then we could do 1 damage on the Smee if we want to. And now our Ursula can hit the Smee, or not even our Ursula, our Queen of Hearts can hit the Smee because now she's gonna have strength. There's a lot of combos you could do with this deck. Very fun, very fun. And this Diablo, their fault for leaving it alive. You know, we're just gonna keep having infinite cards in our hand.
Yeah, this is going to be a wrap here. I think you'll just eventually win the game. The Diablo control is real, and now you have enough actions to be able, I think, to do what you want to do, right?
Yes,
So you
yes.
can.
We'll ink. We'll play the Bruno now for 5, bam, and then we'll sing together. That's what we do. We sing together, 2, 4, 6. Oh, so cool. Look at that. We sing together, Pirate's Life, and now we have 3 actions played this turn, and we get the free Lilo, and we can let's ready our Dormouse, shall we? Just so we can go ahead and keep little Dormouse alive. That's pretty cool, man. I like this deck. It's very interesting. It was kind of awkward at first because I didn't really know, like, how do we stabilize? Where do we go from here? But we were still able to kind of develop a game plan. The AI did kind of mess up a little bit, giving us the clear path, but I still think that we were working hard to like develop that path. Diablo Cove turn 1, very overpowered. Follow that up by just some simple discard strategies. Eventually, you can kind of stabilize. What do you think of the deck, Zach?
This was fun. I'm not surprised it won a set champs. I'm not, having too many expectations on like set champs being like highly competitive, but I do know for a lot of people it's like what they really look forward to
Yeah.
every season of Lorcana. So again, it's nice when your pet decks can take down a set champ. The emphasis of it, I think you're supposed to be playing what you like and enjoy and have fun, and if you can get some wins out of it, even better. But it just goes to show that decks like this can still win set championships, and who knows, you could just bring this to a major event and clean house because no one knows what your deck does. So kudos to you.
I mean, I want to give all the credit where credit is due. I'm not even sure this was a set champs, by the way. This was a 5K. It could have been a set champs too, though. But this was a 5K tournament
Oh,
actually. Yeah, yeah. So the whole tournament taken down by Cody G over here. And like you said, Zach, some people just don't know what your strategy is when you start playing against them, and they're so used to the meta. They've been playtesting against their friends who have blue steel, Ruby Sapphire, Amber Steel, and they see you sit down with a Christmas deck in the middle of July, and they're probably just confused. So I like that strategy a lot. I think Lorcana is a game where you can do that, and it's always very fun to see. And even if it was set champs, like set champs, small or big, they're still kind of hard, right? In my opinion, people are there to win. Like, and most people do go to set champs. It's fun, but people want to be a champion. They want that Jafar, that Rainer Jafar top 8 card, So it's going to be hard to get through anybody who also wants to win, no matter what deck you're playing. So huge shout out to Cody. Huge shout out to everybody who's been doing well during this Rainer Jafar set championship season. I wish I could do well at a set champs as Zach Stone, but they're only on weekends. That is like my biggest. That is like my biggest qualm with this whole thing. Like I wish we could have a set champs on a Friday, or something. Then I would go. Then I would go and I would play Cody G's Christmas deck, and I would play Dormouse on all my opponents as much as I could. But that's going to be all for this Lorcana Goons Monday Meta Watch video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're still here, like, comment, and subscribe. It does support the channel. We're going to be doing these every Monday, so be sure to stay tuned for Lorcana Goons for more. Right, Zach?
yeah, no, this is definitely something that we love to see. Continuing to provide us those deck lists, guys. Remember, Sets Champ season is not done yet. And if you guys are also playing in any other bigger events too, drop those Dreamborn links, please, because we also will play with your decks online on Thursday. We want to use these decks and see how your guys' meta game is and try to find out what your game plans are. So remember, guys, if you guys can provide Dreamborn links and make your deck lists public, we will use these decks on stream. And if you're not in our Discord, remember, join, like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, my Lorcana Goons, stay tuned. We'll see you next time.